Period. Our BBC reporter Harry Lowe spoke to passengers at London Paddington.
It's a disaster for me because I'm actually going for my vaccine in Cardiff, and my appointment's at 3 p.m. and I need to make there basically. So
what will you do instead?
I'm going to get an Uber.
How have you been disrupted?
I was going to go back to uni, to Exeter, and I can't go back, which was so annoying. Now I don't know how I'm getting back.
What are you going to do?
We're going to try and find a bus or get my dad to drop us, but it's really far, so I don't know.
How much of an inconvenience is this?
A very big one.
And what about you? Where were you hoping to travel today?
Exeter as well.
Well, would you sum up in a sentence for us how you're feeling about this?
Annoyed, but it's okay. It happens.
Well, Harry is with us now. Hello, Harry.
Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening, mate. What's the risk then with these hairline cracks?
Well, the main danger is something called metal fatigue, and that can mean that the cracks may spread, and that will ultimately weaken the body shell strength of these carriages, and there are 1,000 of them or so to deal with, and it's quite a lengthy process, Stephen, to get them repaired because of the fact that they're full of electronics. You have to disconnect those before you can re-weld the joints. And that involves obviously putting electric current into the metal. So that means it's not a quick process, and it's also not a cheap process. And obviously it's going to take some time, based on what we're hearing from both the train operating companies and Hitachi, to get these fixed, in good time, and so that passengers can return to the services they're booked onto.
I noticed that we're reporting cracks have been found on some trains. Do we know how many?
We don't know how many. We know that all of them are being checked as a precaution. There's 180 trains and 1,000 carriages to deal with, as I say. Some of those carriages have been checked and are starting to be reintroduced. So, for example, Hull Trains has had all of the trains of this type, which is the 800 series, back on the railway and working again. So their disruptions are going to be limited for the rest of the weekend. That's not the case for some of the other operators, which are going to continue to advise passengers against travelling, and those that do travel facing disruption and being urged really to check their itinerary before they leave.
And Harry, if you don't know, stroke, if we, the BBC, don't know, fair enough. But I just think it'll be interesting to establish whether these cracks were found on one train and then they're having to inspect the rest of them, or whether this is a problem which has been seen across different networks.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit unclear. Some people are saying that there's been more than one that's been checked and so therefore and been found with one of these, but nobody's being very specific about the exact number of these. So I think really people are being incredibly cautious here. There's been an abundance of caution. People are saying, the rail minister's obviously expressed his discontent with this, but, as he and many others have said, safety does come first.
What was the disruption like today?
Well, as you mentioned, it was 4 main operators, London North East Railway, and so their trains which connect Edinburgh, Newcastle, York and London. All high-speed Great Western Railway services between London, Bristol, Cardiff and Penzance were affected. I mean, looking at the departure board at London Paddington earlier on, was made for grim reading for passengers. Then there's TransPennine, which runs trains in the north of England and Scotland, and then Hull Trains as well. Although, as I said, their services have resumed, but it's been a bit messy for people. And a lot of people are being told not to travel tomorrow, particularly on Great Western Railway, which says that it may not even have the problem in hand by next week. They're, I should stress, not responsible for checking these. That is Hitachi's responsibility, and they are the ones carrying out the safety inspections on their stock.
Harry, thanks very much indeed, sir. Thank you.